All right. Welcome to the 52nd episode of the Bloomers Podcast. My name is Ummer. The Bloomers Podcast is a channel where we talk about life, mental health, issues in society, struggles in life. So if that's what you like, then this channel is for you. It's been a while since I've made a video, trying to make quality content, not just make a video for the sake of making a video, but today is the 3-year anniversary of my podcast, and this episode is not podcast related exactly. It's just a normal video. But yeah, thank you for supporting me over these last 3 years. August 9th, big day for me. But what I want to talk about in this video is death and why people don't talk or think about it, and why you should talk and think about it. So, I've been in a very peaceful place for a while, this whole break, I guess. You know, when life kind of slows down from school, and it's just work like I'm doing right now, I have a lot more time to think about things. You know, you get caught in how busy life gets, and you don't really focus on life in general, like this whole scope of it, at least for me. And death brings a lot of focus to my life, and it's something that I constantly think about. I don't think about it on a super, super deep level during school for 8 months of the year, which is, 2/3 of the year. So I've just been reflecting on it and thinking about it, and, I'll just say this right now. I totally understand. So I'm a very self-aware person, all right? I know how I sound. I know how crazy some things might be when they come out of my mouth. And I understand the people. There's probably a group of people out there who don't even watch my videos because they just think, okay, this guy's stupid. This ideas, or he's thinking way too deep about life. That's totally fair. I understand that, because I don't know. It just makes sense. That some people not everyone's going to think the same way you think. And there's another group of people who, see merit in the ideas that I present here and that the guests present on this channel, that we present. And that's obviously the group of people who's watching. So I understand the idea of oh, this guy's just thinking too hard and thinking too deep, and life's not that deep. I totally understand that. But at the same time, this is a really important discussion that I just don't think happens a lot. And anytime you bring up death in a group of people, to a group of people, they think you're suicidal. They think, oh, this person's kind of crazy. I mean, I've had it happen to me literally recently. I was in I was in a room with a group of people, and I brought up death, and we were talking about how someone was going to die soon, and I started talking about it a lot more. They got diagnosed with the disease, that's why. And the more we talked about it, the more this one person was like, I can tell you're unhappy. And they basically said they implicitly said I was suicidal, even though I'm not. And this is the happiest time of my life right now. So, I understand the mindset people have towards certain ideas like this, but let's get into it. So in society, Robert Greene really said this very well. Society really hides death, and it throws a blanket over death. For example, people die in hospitals, animals die in factories. Before, in the past, you see people die, in front of you in the street, in your house. And I'm not advocating for more death here, all right? But you were confronted with this thing more often than you are now, because it's so hidden, and now when death happens, it's a traumatizing thing, which it should be, but it is a really impactful, hard thing to deal with now, as opposed to before, where it's a lot easier to. And not only that way of hiding it, but through our language as well. And he didn't say this is just something that I got from YouTube, but instead of saying he died, she died, we say he kicked the bucket, passed on, kicked rocks. Like, we have all these ways to say something very simple of, this person died, he died, she died, you know? And it's that blanket that kind of like prevents people from fully realizing themselves while they're alive. So Stephen Covey wrote The 7 Habits, and that is one of my favorite books of all time. So good. And in that book, in the second chapter, he proposes this amazing idea. It's called the funeral exercise. So this video is on YouTube. You should watch it, by the way. It's so amazing. It really gets you to think, and it changed my perspective on death. I read that book when I was 17, 18, so it was like life-changing. But what he says is, and I've covered this on the channel before, you know, imagine you're going to a funeral. You know, you're walking into the building and you feel that shared sense of loss, you know, around you. I think you've been to a funeral before, probably. There's a certain feeling in the air that's just not good. And, you know, you walk in and then you look at the casket and it's you in the casket. And basically there are 4 people who are going to speak, right? So it's family, one's a friend, one's someone at work, one's someone at like a volunteer place, or like a church or mosque or wherever, temple. So these 4 people, right? What are they going to say about you? Now, that's the focus here. What these people will say about you when you're dead. And he basically goes, he explains it a lot better than I do, but he's like, you know, what these people say about you is what you want in life. And you'll find that a lot of the times, things like fame, money, status, these are not things that are mentioned at people's funerals. It's like, how many people did this person help? You know, the impact they had on the people around them. Were they a loving person? Were they a kind person? And that's really what life is about. So the purpose of this whole thing is to picture yourself at the end. Like, what do you want at the end in life? Like, because life is all about impacting other people. You know, to me, the whole objective of life is love and to prepare for your death. But, you know, without an impact on other people, what's the point? The whole point of life is social. It's like a social network. That's why social media is so addicting. But the point is, right, is that brings the focus. Once you get those ideas of okay, so what you just answered in your head, what you want people to think about you, there's your answer. There's your focus. Now you have to put that into like a career or something, or like something meaningful to pursue, so that way people can remember you in a positive light. That's the whole objective of this exercise here. So this whole denial of death in society prevents people from really thinking about that. And it's important that you do think about that, man. And that the funeral exercise by Stephen Covey, search it up on YouTube. It is so good. I highly recommend listening to that. It's a little 3-minute clip. It's beautiful. And you know, I was thinking about it when I was thinking about how, you know, we deny death and stuff. And this podcast is a denial of death in a way, because, and a lot of art forms, you know, a lot of books, paintings, YouTube videos, pretty much anything, right? It's a denial of death. Goddamn. It's a denial of death because we're trying to immortalize ourselves in some form, right? And denial of death is a book, which this idea that I'm talking about comes from. But, you know, we just have a need to want to live forever, which is a stupid idea and a stupid thought, because you should want an end and you should want peace. There's a reason why after a long freaking day, you just want to get in bed and you just want it to stop for some time. And that escape is really, really important. So I don't really agree with people who say that, you know, they want to live forever, or I wish I didn't sleep so I could work more. Like, no, bro, come on. Sleep and death, you know how this quote, sleep is the cousin of death. They're very, like, similar to each other. And yeah, if there is no life after death, then sleep, that what you feel in sleep, where it's like, shut your eyes, I'm awake. That's how I think it's gonna be. If there is no afterlife, which there probably is, but a whole other debate. I don't like to get into talking about faith and everything, because it's not something everyone can relate to. So I won't get into that. But it's not about like being suicidal and like wanting death. It's like, for me, I can talk about this. Like, I just view life as suffering and pain, and that's not in a negative way, because I think that, you know, it's good to have like bad thoughts amongst yourself, but not directed towards other people, or to push harmful ideas on other people. But I think that like viewing life as just like all its challenges and everything is really hard, having that mentality, really, it just helps me, and it helps me be grateful for like good times when I'm surrounded by family and stuff. And it's not I think death is just a really positive thing to think about, as long as it's not suicidal in nature, or in a way that you want to murder another person. It's very good to strengthen your inner values and really get a focus on what you want. One thing I think is also really important is like to not only achieve, because I think peace is in deep sleep is a very peaceful place, and there's unconscious peace that we can achieve, but conscious peace is something that's very important for your soul and for your spine, for your mind, for your heart, for everything. And for me, that's my deck outside. So if you've been watching my videos for a long time, I was stuck in a condo for 2 years of my life, which is a tenth of my life, almost, just a little less than a tenth of my life, maybe 9% of my life. And that was really painful. It sucked. I was in a small place with my whole family. And then I moved to this house. I don't have my proper setup yet, but I moved into this house, and then one of my favorite, it was so underrated, my favorite spot ended up being the deck, which is not even inside the house. That's number 1 or 2 of locations in the house. And we live on the edge of the city, so there's not much light like just past us, and you can see all the stars. And it's pretty quiet because the highway's like 5 minutes the other way, so it's pretty quiet. And I was just there before I recorded this, and oh my god, it is just amazing. You can see the Big Dipper right on top of us, and like the North Star is like to the right, and it is so peaceful, and it is just a night, one of my favorite places. And I think that's really just brought a lot of peace to me. And it's just made me, realize, like, if this were my last night alive, how much wider would I open my eyes to look at the stars? And it's just a beautiful thought. And even when I'm there during the day, I'm like, the wind is blowing on my face, the sun is shining, and it's just like, if it was my last day, how much more would I appreciate this? And that's what death really does, man. If it was your last day alive, how would you leave every conversation? You'd leave it with a hug. You'd leave it with, I love you. You'd leave it with, thank you. You'd be very, the level of like appreciation and you'd be so much more grateful for everything. It would be elevated. Everything would be very elevated. And living life with the mentality of today could be my last day, you shouldn't take that in a sense of like money, because like then you'd spend all your money, right? But you should take it in a sense of like, how would I present myself to other people? You would never end a conversation in a mad, angry tone. You'd end conversations all with love. If you're outside embracing nature, you'd open your eyes way more. You'd inhale, the air, the fresh air way more. You know what I mean? Like, So this is why death is such a good thing, because if it was truly your last day alive, you would do so many things different. And yeah, if it was your last day alive, I mean, hell yeah, I'd spend all my money. Why not? I'd just do something fun, maybe go on a vacation or something. But um, it's that is just such a beautiful thought. Like how much more wide would I open my eyes? Because even I was there just now, and I thought about that, and I tried opening it up like crazy wide, but I just couldn't open it up any wider. But find your peaceful location. Whether it's at your house, not at your house, some place you can go to often, and just like alone, and just be calm and have peace. It is an amazing feeling. It's beautiful. You can do it even in your room. Turn off all the lights, sit there, crisscross applesauce, and just think think deep. Another amazing thing about death is like a lot of the times, and we're all guilty of this, but a lot of the times, I overhear people just talking bad about others, backbiting and whatnot, and you just really like when I think about it, because obviously like we all do it, but when I see a lot of the times you really have to see someone else do something bad to realize how bad it is, right? And there's this example that I'm thinking of. This person, I hear them very often, almost every day, talking bad about other people, and it's just like, man, if this was my last conversation with this person, do I really want this to be like something they would remember? And that's really like just one of the biggest things, because the whole like worry that I have, I think my death would be completely fine. The only problem is, worrying about how it would affect others. And that's not me trying to sound like I'm some like saint who cares about so much about every other person in the world, because I don't care about every person in the world. I just care about my really close friends and family the most, obviously, on a really deep personal level. But like that thought is really, really scary. And I think when you're a single person like I am, you don't have a wife or a girlfriend or kids. It's a lot easier to speak on like death and not and really being okay with it. But when I imagine that when I have children, it would be like a whole different story. Or if, not when, but if, because it's always a possibility that I or you, if you don't already have kids, die before you have kids. But yeah, that's probably the biggest worry, I think. But other than that, I mean, so the purpose of life is to prepare for death. Now, that's my personal belief, but whatever entails that definition, so that could be anything, man. That could be like the need to, have a good family, have a good, have a good connection with your family, have good friends, make some meaningful change in life. And you can't just ignore it. I feel like I know that. So the way that I think about life, right, is that like it's kind of pointless, because a lot of us, we're just not going to change that much. We're just going to have a family, we're going to get a job, going to work 9 to 5, going to die. And that's okay. Life doesn't have to be some extravagant, extraordinary experience for everybody. There's a lot of beauty in like the little things. And there's a lot of beautiful memories and love, and lots of love in like small moments of just like sitting and being with your family and being with people you love. But just because like life is this kind of, in the grand scheme of things, pointless exercise, that doesn't mean you still just like don't try and you have no sense of urgency in your life, and it's just like, oh, I'll do this later, I'll it doesn't matter, whenever. But at the same time, there doesn't have to be this like huge urgency to like do things, because at what my best friend said this to me once. He's like, at what point in life do you just accept yourself for who you are and just be okay with who you are after working so hard, you know? Because self-improvement is a cycle, but there has to be a point where you kind of realize that, okay, it's like a little balance, like that life is like, in the grand scheme of things, kind of pointless, but at the same time I need to do things that'll help make the world a better place, and then I'll be ready to die. That's kind of the state that I've been in for a while, even though it's only been like 3 years of me having this this mentality. It's a good place to be in, because you just don't fear death. And if you've witnessed death, you're likely in the same sort of mindset that I'm talking about, because I have. Mine was really crazy. It was like, it wasn't like a peaceful hospital death, you know. This was a person falling off a cliff, right? And they bashed their head on the ground, on a rock. This was December 25th, 2015, at Sunset Cliffs in San Diego. I witnessed a dude fall off a cliff and smash his head into a rock and die on the spot, which was pretty crazy. I was probably 15 feet away from this guy, so it couldn't have been anybody. But, you know, that goes back to what I was saying before, like the whole denial, the society is just in denial and pushing it away. So when a death does happen somewhere, it's like, it's this traumatizing thing. And it kind of was traumatizing for me, because it's like 12 years old and you see somebody fall off a cliff and die. And obviously death is not, like, dying and seeing someone die is not a good thing, but death on like a mind level, like thinking about it, as I've stated in this video, is a good thing. Don't take it out of context that, you know, like suicide is good. No, that's not what I'm saying. But one thing that's really was crazy, Robert Greene also mentioned this in one of his, he was on a podcast once, that if you really want to if you want to empathize with someone, picture them at the moment of their death. And that was like, when I heard that, man, it was like, wow, that's crazy. Because that is the one experience we all share, and you can, it's just kind of sad, man. You know, you picture your parents dying, your friends dying, just a stranger, maybe someone you dislike, and it's like, man, why do we fight? Why do we have this division? Why are we not smiling and being happy and loving each other? And that's really just what I'm trying to say here, is like, you should think about death, you should talk about death, because it is such a powerful idea that will make your life better, will bring you closer together with the people you love. And this is just a mentality and like ideas that a lot of people just don't have. A lot of people who like practice religion, when I have these conversations with them, they're very in agreement with what I'm saying, and I'm very in agreement with what they're saying. But, you know, now more than ever, people are not following like Christianity or Islam or Judaism or, you know, all these religions. They're not following it, which is okay, obviously. You know, that's nobody's business. It's between you and God. But for me, like, Islam is why I even view death, why I even think about death in the first place, and why I view it as a good thing. And even like the idea of dying and going to an afterlife is a beautiful thought for me, because it's always about trying to get there and try to be the best person. And like Islam has a really bad, I know I said I wasn't going to get into talk about Islam or anything, but Islam has a really bad like view. People have a really bad view of it in the world, and it's terrible that people have that view because this is just skewed by the media and crazy narratives. They don't want Muslim countries to have power and all this stuff, which it's all crazy. We have a bunch of people who misrepresent us in the world, and it sucks. But yeah, I think if you believe in a God, you'll find this conversation a lot more striking and beautiful than someone who doesn't. But even if you don't follow a God or you don't believe in anything, I think it's still a good thing to think about. And you probably are at peace knowing that, like, in your belief, like, there's just nothing after life, which is cool if you want to believe in that. That's understandable to me. But yeah, definitely don't let the idea of death scare you. I think that's also another thing. Like, as long as you're preparing for your death, right? You want to leave something behind for the people you love. You want to, affect people the best way you can. The stuff I said with the Stephen Covey idea, that thing is amazing. So, yeah. Yeah, that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about in this video. Remember death and remember that you can die at any moment. Live life like it's your last day, but don't take that in the sense of money. And picture yourself in a casket, and what would you want people to say about you? Whatever they want to say about you, whatever you want them to say about you is what you want in life. And yeah, beautiful, amazing discussion here. But if any guests want to ever talk about this idea, I would be happy, very happy to talk about it. And speaking on that note, lots more guest episodes coming this month. The thing is, I just have a lot of things, very busy with family, very busy life lately, so I haven't done guest episodes because they're really difficult to plan and coordinate and film and all that stuff. But as soon as a lot of my family is going to leave, then we'll be back to it. And the people who have been waiting, that small group of people that I've been talking to, you guys will get your episodes. So I can't wait. It'll be fun. Yeah. Thank you so much for watching. And yeah, take care. Thank you for helping me for these last 3 years. And yeah, bye.